Hello everybody, today I'm bringing you more jank, courtesy of the latest FAQ ruling. For those of you who are not so up to date with current affairs, the new ruling states that Kai'Sa may now be hosted on Scheherazade and still move off it. Previously, you were not allowed to move Kai'Sa off Scheherazade because it was ruled that you can only activate the click ability if the Kai'Sa are not hosted uh, on anything other than ice. So this means that now it is easier to play the Kai'Sa because basically all the install costs go down by 1 when Scheherazade is in play, and in the case of Pawn, the installation of Pawn actually gives you a credit. So this has two uses. Firstly, it makes street chess that much better. This is the Exile deck, which uses Pawn recursion to trigger Exile's ability again and again. The other option is doing what I'm doing right here, SIPHON Max with the chess pieces. The chess pieces fit perfectly into a econ denial deck because Rook is fundamentally an econ denial card, and there isn't really a deck out there that wants to play both Knight and Bishop. To make playing deep red worth it, you need to play at least 2 of the 3 main Kai'Sa. So here I'm choosing Knight and Rook. You can also do Bishop and Rook with Faust, but I prefer this setup instead because Knight gives you more consistency in breaking through HQ for your first Siphon. Alright, I'm up against Sync, and this is a very interesting matchup for both sides. Because if I find my flatline defense early on, I will have a good time. If I don't, he will just chain Astro Scripts to victory. So this is a very swingy matchup that can go both ways, but at least I know for sure that my opponent is running some sort of butcher shop. Because Sync, yeah. And seeing Seesaws on R&D confirms that you don't play Seesaws unless you're running Scorched Earth. So, he ices up his centrals, good for him. I draw into a Count Siphon, fantastic. The best is when you draw a Count Siphon and there's none in your heap. So the runner doesn't really expect an account siphon. And Corp doesn't expect a Count Siphon, they won't be prepared for it, that's the best. Here I set up my deep red, ready to 1-2 Siphon, install Knight, and then Siphon straight in. With deep red you can do that and still have time to clear tags, but I'm not sure if I want to clear tags in this matchup. It's very expensive, obviously. So here I draw into a pawn, and this raises an interesting scenario. I could play the knight straight from my hand, or I could play the pawn. The pawn can tutor Kai'Sa from both your heap and your hand. The advantage of tutoring from your hand instead of playing the knight outright is that you lose 1 click, but you gain 2 credits because knight costs 2 credits to play. Here I discard Dirty Laundry, which is probably a mistake. I did not have enough clicks to play it because I spent my first 2 clicks drawing. I was drawing here not because I didn't want to siphon. Actually, I didn't want to siphon. Why? Because I haven't found any flatline pieces yet. Anti-flatline pieces. I do have I've had worse in hand, but that's not enough, as we all know. I'm very afraid of Traffic Accident to Scorched Earth, and I can choose to clear just 1 tag, leave 1 tag. Also not a good idea because I have the same old thing out on the board and I want to be able to play it. So I really am digging for a plus crit at this point. If a plus crit ever hits my heap, I'm going to deja vu for it and then I can go straight in for the Siphon. The other alternative is to play DDoS into Siphon, which is a very powerful move. Most powerful if I can combo it with something else like triple medium run. As you will see later on, I do not make the best use of DDoS. But as you can see here, it's so powerful, DDoS. What I can do right now is to just install DDoS and run R&D 4 times. And I don't really have to worry about the upgrade of R&D, which is probably a Cyberdex Virus Suite. Or it could be a Bernice Mai. Both are very possible. Yeah, I have to be aware of that. So I think this is the mistake. Instead of using DDoS for medium digging, I use the DDoS for Siphon. And while this gives me 10 credits to work with, I'm forced to clear tags at this point because I'm afraid of flatline and I don't have any plus crit out. This is bad because with DDoS, what I really want to be doing is to be pressuring either the remote or R&D. I was able to do neither and this posed a big problem for me. So here you see me hopping my knight to R&D. I really want to get through R&D for the medium dig. Seeing medium this early on is a benefit that I should take the fullest advantage of. I'm not doing that right now. Yes, so pawn triggers on any successful run and allows you to tutor Kai'Sa. I tutor knight on R&D. As I said, I want to maintain R&D pressure. I could go for knight on HQ for Siphon instead, but I chose not to. Turns out knight on HQ was the correct choice because seeing that he's down to 5 credits, I decided to play a rook on R&D, figuring that the ice on R&D was a data raven. This would mean that he cannot rest the data raven and I would get 2 free runs on R&D, but that wasn't the case. I stumbled into a wraparound, but at least I forced him to pay 4 credits for the wraparound. Rook, this is why Rook is just not that good. You pay 2 credits, you force the corp to pay 2 credits, it's breaking even. It's not that good, it really isn't. The only good news is that if he decides to further fortify R&D, he will have to pay an extra rest cost since the rook is stuck there. But on the other hand, I cannot leave my rook stuck on wraparound. Why? Because I have no way to break through wraparound without knight. And I cannot host both knight and rook on the same Kaisa. But I can host pawn on a ice already containing a rook. Pawn is the only Kaisa that can share ice with the other pieces. It doesn't make thematic sense, but whatever. So here I go in for a Siphon, and it failed because he rests the Cyberdex against me to bring himself down to 0 credits. So I go in for an Access instead and see 24/7 new cycle. At this point, I upgrade my pawn into another pawn. This is called pawn cycling. I am basically pawn cycling at this point because I do not want to commit to either a knight or a rook yet. When I'm ready to commit, I will then upgrade my pawn to promote my pawn. That's the terminology. Promote my pawn to the relevant piece. So now he's busy clicking for credits because I'm suppressing him, and I do find my plus crit, so that's good news. I dirty laundry his hand right here. It's going to cost me 2 credits, but I'll get 3 credits in return, and I see a breaking news. Very good. This is very essential. Stopping the breaking news means that I'll be safe from 24/7, and plus crit guarantees that. I do forget to promote my pawn at this point, but if I did, I would still have pawn cycle. And this is where I really wish I had Scheherazade, because every time I pawn cycle, I gain 1 credit. And as you see, I'm pretty poor now, so every credit matters. Right now, the only way I can earn money is to account Siphon. And that's not going to happen anytime soon, because I'm too poor to break with knight. That's a problem. So many problems. This is why chess is way too janky. So yes, pawn cycling is very powerful. As I realize here, I would get another credit for promoting my pawn at this point, but this time I do decide to promote it for real. I promote it to a knight, which destroys the innermost knight on the quandary. I chose to do this because I wanted to hop the rook over to HQ so I could perform an account Siphon. This will make it very difficult for him to rest the outermost piece of ice because there's a rook on that server HQ. But I forgot that by destroying the old knight, I can now no longer break quandary. This is the biggest problem. Going back to my earlier point, rook and knight cannot share the same ice. So rook is only valid if I have a way through that ice. Or if the corp is poor and I want to try to get access through a server such as R&D or remote. Only then will rook be useful. Otherwise, in this situation, rook is useless. There's no point having a rook on quandary when I can't break the quandary. That means I can't force rezzing on that server in the first place. In the meantime, he gets breaking news off, and I'm now 1 Siphon behind, 1 knight behind. I'm all over the place. I do draw into a parasite, and this is my other solution against the ice that is nasty for knight to break. There aren't that many annoying ice in NBN because most NBN ice are single subroutine. In a matchup like HB or Jinteki, Parasite would be more relevant. And I would probably be using Deja Vu to recycle Parasites. In retrospect, I will probably swap out 1 rook for a bishop, because that will accelerate Parasite killing. But anyway, back to this game. He installs something in the remote. I could contest it with DDoS, but I don't feel like doing so. At this point, money is more important, and I'm very close to decking myself out right now. I need to plan for the future. I need to prepare for the levy. And the only way to do this is to click for credits. Siphoning doesn't work here because I'm locked out of a Siphon. So I do Parasite down the quandary so I can prepare for a Siphon right now. Hopefully there's only 1 subroutine. There are 2. It's an Enigma. But I can afford to lose 1 click and break the other subroutine using 2 credits. I chose not to because I realized that by rezzing the Enigma, he goes broke. Because the rook is no longer on that server, it doesn't cost him too many credits to rest the Enigma. Yes, you can tell this is the first time of me playing this deck, and it really shows. I do draw into my files, and this is my backup breaker. This allows me to actually play with rook. I can place rook on a quandary and still break through that server. Here I go for the remote because I suspect it's an agenda in there. Because now he actually has enough credits to score an agenda, and it's an Explodapalooza. Oops, I gave him money. That can't be good. Now, here's the problem. I've had worse is now turned off. So, if he is wise to that fact, he can flatline me, and he's about to. He plays 24/7 News Cycle, which sacks his bill, and proceeds with a traffic accident. I allow the traffic accident to fire. If it hits my Deja Vu, I would call GG, because there's no way I'm going to win without a levy. It misses my Deja Vu, and I live to tell the tale another day. Instead of finishing off the kill, he clicks for a credit, and that's a problem. This is a big mistake by him, but it turns out that after the game we discussed it, he was very confused because he was expecting I've had worse to draw me cards. He didn't notice that my deck was empty. So the game goes on, and here's a public service announcement. Do not forget to stick the 2 tags on the runner after your turn. The way Octagon is currently scripted, it removes the 2 tags after the end of the turn, just as a regular breaking news would. This shouldn't be the case. By the proper rules, the 2 tags should stick, and I should have flatline here. I think he has 2 Scorchers in hand here, but he doesn't realize that I should be tagged. So he continues playing for the agenda win while I slowly levy. I go down to 0 credits, which is pretty bad news. And the worst thing is I see a day job in my next opening hand. I can only finish my turn on 1 credit, so I can't use the day job next turn. That is so painful. This deck really needs Charizard. I would have made at least 6 credits off a early Charizard by now. I only played 2 copies of it because I expected that multiple copies are dead. With files, that will never be the case. I should play 3 copies of Charizard. It is a very powerful interaction, more powerful than you think. That ruling actually makes Kai'Sa somewhat more powerful. It's still not tier 1, nowhere near tier 1, but it's still pretty good. He scores an Astro, and now the pressure is really on because Astro Train, Choo Choo, yeah, that's how most NBNs win. Can't let that happen, can I? So, what can I do right here? I do have access to account siphon via same old thing. Do I want to do it? Not much point. I'm rich, he's rich. I don't see much point in doing that. Or is there? I do perform an account siphon because this will allow me to promote my pawn. And yes, and sap some tempo away from my opponent. Tempo at this point is irrelevant because he can easily install double advance for the victory with the Astro Train. He doesn't need too many credits more at this point since he's already scored his first Astro. In retrospect, what I should have done here was to perform pawn recursion, destroying the existing knight, and that will allow me on my next successful run to install knight on the wraparound. But it doesn't matter anyway, I can still hop the knight manually to R&D, and this allows me to begin digging R&D. Of course, the Mega Dig ends because I hit Slam into a rare Cyberdex Royal Suite, but I'm now a match point just like him. At this point, I just have to gamble that he does not have a 3-2 agenda in hand. If he does, there's nothing I can do about it. The chances of me getting an agenda through HQ is too low. So instead, I'm going to build up for Mega Dig R&D on the next turn. And I don't see much in the way of agendas, obviously, because my medium was reset. I called GG here. As I said, I fully expected him to have a Bill or an Astro in hand, given his Jackson draw and him having so many cards the whole game. That wasn't the case. Now here he made a mistake. He overrode my knight, which was good, except that it also overrode the Corroder on it. I think given that he had so many credits, he should not have overrode his wraparound. I think that was a mistake. Either way, it definitely would matter, because if I'm forced to make multiple runs of R&D, double wraparound would cost me 4 credits each run. That is very, very expensive. Instead, now I'm only paying 2 credits per run, and this will much more easily allow me to trash the Jackson Howard from R&D and go again after a sure gamble. I see 2 more fresh cards. Do I win? Yes, I do. I see the bill for the victory. To be perfectly frank, I don't have much to comment about this game, unlike most other games. It was unfortunate that I didn't get to show off the Kai'Sa-Scheherazade interaction that I wanted to. Nonetheless, some of you might be thinking, why not play this in Reyna? Reyna has the credit denial thing going for her, and after all, she is the Kai'Sa Queen. Thematically, it would fit, huh? I don't think so. I think Max is the true Kai'Sa Queen, with her ID ability that basically allows her to put 3 new cards into play each turn clicklessly. It is so much better than forcing the corp to lose 1 credit each turn at max. Kai'Sa synergizes so incredibly well with Max's ability, it's ridiculous. Mostly because Pawn can recur all sorts of Kai'Sa from archives of your choice, and same old thing and Deja Vu do that work for you for account Siphon as well as Deep Red, which is a very key point. You do need Deep Red in a Kai'Sa deck. Running 3 copies of it is mandatory because otherwise you will never get anything going. You can't play Rook, Knight or Pawn without a Deep Red. It's just too click intensive to be any good, and even 3 copies of Deep Red isn't enough. I'm running 2 Deja Vu and I would happily sack a Deja Vu for Deep Red if need be, because otherwise I'm just too slow. And this is why you can't really play in Reyna. Reyna's just way too slow. Plus, you don't really need, unlike Parasite Crescentus clone chip, you don't really need all 3 copies of Knights and Rooks anyway. You just need enough to get you through the server of your choice, and everything else, there's always same old thing, there's always Levy. So Max is a very strong ID ability, and I think it synergizes way better than Reyna does in Siphon chess. Thanks for watching and happy net running. Goodbye.